All right, everybody, welcome back to Sip and Talk.
You're ready to dive into a topic that's got everyone's tentacles in a twist?
Oh, you already went there with the tentacle puns. Okay, game on.
Got to keep things lively, right? Speaking of lively, how was your week? Anything exciting happened besides, us prepping for this mind-blowing octopus extravaganza?
Ooh, actually, funny you should ask. I totally had an octopus moment this week.
Yeah.
Picture this. I'm at the grocery store, right? Juggling a watermelon, a 6-pack of sparkling water.
Wait, a watermelon and sparkling water? Is this some new health kick I haven't been informed about?
Well, girls got to stay hydrated. Anyway, so I'm juggling all this stuff, and my phone starts ringing. It's my mom, of course, perfect timing. So I'm trying to answer the phone, but I can't find it in my bag. It's like it just vanished.
Okay, I'm seeing the octopus connection here. Your bag was like an octopus hiding your phone with its tentacles?
Exactly. I swear my bag has a mind of its own sometimes.
Yeah.
Turns out my phone was wedged between a loaf of bread and a bag of kale. Like, how did it even get there? It's like it escaped from its designated pocket and went on an adventure.
Gee, octopuses are everywhere.
Okay, you're right. That was totally an octopus move. But speaking of real octopuses, we've got a ton of listeners asking us to tackle the big question. Are these brainy cephalopods a delicacy or a disaster waiting to happen on our dinner plates?
Right. You guys know we love hearing from you, and trust me, those daily episode requests are coming through loud and clear. And to everyone who messaged us about dropping out of the top 100 podcast charts, let's just say we felt that sting all the way down to our non-existent tentacles.
Ouch. Yeah, that hurt a bit. But hey, with awesome listeners like you, we'll be back in the top 10 before you can say octo-awesome. Speaking of octo-awesome, diving into the research for this one was a trip. We've got scientific studies, cultural perspectives, culinary recipes. It's like a whole octopus buffet of information.
It really is. I went from, oh, cool, octopuses are smart, to, wait, they can recognize human faces, to, am I a monster for loving takoyaki?
Right. I mean, at first I was all for this topic. Octopuses. They're fascinating. They're mysterious. They're basically the aliens of the sea. But then I started reading about their intelligence, and it all got a little squishy. Like, can we really justify eating something that's smart enough to solve puzzles and escape from tanks?
Okay, buckle up, because things are about to get even squirmier. Did you know that octopuses have 500 million neurons?
Wait, seriously, 500 million? That's like a lot. More than a hamster, right?
Way more. And here's the kicker. A bunch of those neurons aren't even in their brains. They're distributed throughout their arms, which is why they have such incredible dexterity and problem-solving skills.
Hold on, so you're telling me each arm has its own little brain. Like they could be having 8 separate conversations at once. Mind blown.
It's pretty wild, right? It's like they're a walking, swimming, problem-solving network.
Okay, but back to the 500 million neurons thing. That's got to mean they're super intelligent, right? Like Mensa-level octopus geniuses.
Well, intelligence is a tricky thing to define, especially when we're talking about creatures so different from us. But their problem-solving abilities are definitely impressive. We're talking about octopuses that can figure out how to open jars, escape from complex mazes, even use tools.
Tools?
Yeah.
You know, I'm picturing octopuses building little underwater houses and using seaweed for curtains.
Hey, maybe they are. Stranger things have happened in the ocean. But the tool use is real. There's documented evidence of octopuses using coconut shells as armor and rocks to block their den entrances.
All right, that's officially cool. But it also makes me wonder if we should feel bad about, turning them into appetizers.
I know, right? It's like, oh, hey, Mr. Octopus, thanks for showing me your awesome problem-solving skills. Now excuse me while I dip you in batter and deep fry you.
I'm already feeling guilty, and we haven't even gotten to the part about them recognizing human faces.
Oh, yeah. That's a whole other level of whoa. Studies have shown that octopuses can actually distinguish between individual humans. Like, they can tell the difference between the friendly researcher who gives them treats and the one who, pokes them with a stick for science.
I am officially creeped out.
Mm.
You're telling me this brainy, tool-using escape artist can hold a grudge. I am never looking at calamari the same way again.
Maybe we should pause here for a second and catch our breath. This is a lot to process.
Yeah, good idea. My brain needs a moment to detentacle itself.
And while we're detentacling, we want to give a quick shout out to our friends over at Mickytolife.
Yes. If you're loving this wild ride of a deep dive, you'll definitely want to check them out on YouTube.
Micky's always up for an adventure, whether it's exploring a new country or trying some bizarre new food. And you know what pairs perfectly with adventure? Whiskey.
Right. Mickey's got a whole series on whiskey reviews and tastings, and he's always unboxing cool new stuff. It's a blast.
So head over to YouTube and check out Mickytolife. Tell him Sunny Joe sent you.
And we'll be right back with more octopus insights after this quick break. All right, deep divers, we're back. Did you check out Mickytolife yet? You won't regret it.
Hopefully you didn't go too deep down that whiskey rabbit hole. We've got more octopus mysteries to unravel.
Right before the break, we were getting into the whole, can we really eat something this smart dilemma? And you know what? I'm starting to, those cute little octopus plushies I see everywhere are a conspiracy. They're softening us up for the great calamari feast.
You might be onto something. But seriously, the ethical questions here are pretty complicated. I mean, if we're saying octopuses deserve moral consideration because of their intelligence, where does that leave us with other animals?
Exactly. I was just thinking about pigs.
Yeah.
They're known to be really smart, even capable of some pretty complex emotions. And yet bacon is basically a breakfast staple.
Right. And what about dogs? We love our furry friends, but their intelligence varies wildly depending on the breed. Does that mean some dogs deserve more ethical consideration than others? Or that eating a golden retriever is somehow worse than eating a pug?
Okay, now you're just messing with me. But I see your point. It's a slippery slope.
It really is. And it gets even more tangled when you consider that intelligence isn't a one-size-fits-all concept. What does intelligence even mean when we're talking about creatures with such different brain structures and evolutionary paths?
Right, we're so used to thinking about intelligence in human terms. But octopuses are like proof that there are other ways of being smart. Like their nervous system is so decentralized with those brainy arms. It's almost like they're a collective intelligence, a team of 8 working together.
That's actually a fascinating point. Some scientists believe that octopuses might experience consciousness in a way that's fundamentally different from our own. Like instead of a single unified awareness, they might have a kind of distributed consciousness with each arm capable of independent thought and action.
Whoa, that's trippy. It's like imagining your fingers suddenly developing personalities and arguing about what to order for lunch.
Right? But seriously, it makes you wonder. What would it be like to experience the world through an octopus's suckers? What kind of thoughts and feelings, if any, do those 500 million neurons generate?
It's mind-boggling.
Yeah.
And it kind of makes all this talk about eating octopus feel even more wrong. Like we're not just consuming a body, we're consuming a totally different way of experiencing existence.
I completely agree. It really challenges our assumptions about what it means to be a sentient being deserving of our respect and ethical consideration.
Okay, deep thought time. If we were to accept that octopuses have some level of consciousness, and maybe even feelings, would that be enough to sway people away from eating them?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? I mean, we know that people are often willing to overlook ethical concerns when it comes to food, especially if it's something they've grown up eating or that's deeply ingrained in their culture.
Right, like how some people are totally cool with eating veal, even though it involves separating baby calves from their mothers at a very young age.
Yeah.
It just makes me sad.
Yeah, it's tough. We all have our blind spots, I guess.
Yeah.
But the hope is that by raising awareness about these issues, we can at least encourage people to be more conscious of their choices.
So are you saying we should all become octopus activists and start protesting outside seafood restaurants?
Hi! If that's your calling, go for it. But I think there are less confrontational ways to make a difference, like supporting sustainable fishing practices, choosing plant-based alternatives when possible, or even just having conversations with friends and family about this stuff.
Right, even just bringing it up can plant a seed, right? Like, hey, did you know octopuses can recognize human faces? Mind blown.
Exactly. It's all about expanding our circle of compassion. And speaking of circles, I keep thinking back to that study we mentioned about octopuses being included in UK animal welfare laws because of their likely sentience. That feels like a pretty big deal, right?
Yeah, it's a sign that the tide might be turning, so to speak. If a government is acknowledging that octopuses deserve protection, that sends a powerful message.
It does. And it's not just the UK. There's a growing global movement to recognize the intelligence and sentience of cephalopods and grant them greater legal protection.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
But I gotta ask, if octopuses are so smart, why haven't they, taken over the world already?
That's a great question. I mean, they've got the brains, the problem-solving skills, and those 8 incredibly strong arms.
And they can camouflage themselves. They can be lurking anywhere, plotting their octopus uprising.
Okay, now who's messing with whom? But seriously, their relatively short lifespan might be one factor. Octopuses typically live for only a few years, which doesn't give them a lot of time to build elaborate underwater empires.
True. It's like they're these brilliant flashes of consciousness burning brightly for a short time and then gone.
Yeah.
Kind of poetic, actually.
It is, in a way. But it also makes their conservation even more important. These creatures have so much to teach us about intelligence evolution and the vast possibilities of life on Earth. We can't let them disappear.
Agreed. Okay, so let's say we succeed in raising awareness about octopus intelligence and changing the way people view these creatures. What's the next step? Do we just stop eating them altogether?
That's a tough one. I mean, for some people, giving up octopus might be an easy ethical choice. But for others, it's deeply tied to their culture, their traditions, their livelihoods.
Right, like that Korean dish we mentioned, sanakji, where they eat live octopus. It's considered a delicacy, but I can't even imagine.
I know, it's definitely not for the faint of heart. And it highlights the complex interplay between food culture and ethics. There are no easy answers here.
So what do we do? Is there a way to reconcile our desire for delicious food with our growing understanding of octopus intelligence?
That's the challenge, isn't it? Finding a balance between our needs and the needs of other creatures, between satisfying our taste buds and respecting life in all its forms.
Well, I, for one, am feeling inspired to explore some of those plant-based alternatives you mentioned earlier. Maybe there's a delicious vegan takoyaki recipe out there waiting to be discovered.
I'm with you on that. And who knows, maybe someday lab-grown octopus will be a thing. We can have our tentacles and eat them too, ethically speaking.
Okay, lab-grown octopus sounds a little freaky, but hey, I'm open to possibilities. Speaking of possibilities, I'm starting to see octopuses in a whole new light. It's like they're not just these alien-like creatures from the deep. They're messengers from another way of being, challenging us to expand our definition of intelligence and empathy.
I love that messengers from another way of being. That's a perfect way to put it.
So what do you say we take a quick break to refill our drinks and ponder the profound implications of octopus existence? We'll be back in a flash with more Octo Insights. All right, folks, we're back for the final stretch of our Octopus Odyssey.
That's right, and we've covered a lot of ground. We've explored their incredible intelligence, their unique way of experiencing the world, and the ethical dilemmas surrounding our interactions with them.
It's been a roller coaster of emotions, from awe and wonder to squeamishness and guilt. Looking at you, Sanakshi.
Yeah, some of those culinary traditions definitely push our comfort zones, but that's part of what makes this topic so fascinating. It forces us to confront our own biases and assumptions about what's acceptable, what's ethical, and what's tasty.
Speaking of tasty, let's circle back to something we touched on earlier, the rise of alternative protein sources.
Right. Plant-based options are getting so good these days you can barely tell the difference. And then there's lab-grown meat, which is still in its early stages, but has the potential to revolutionize the way we think about food.
So you're saying there's hope for a future where we can enjoy all the flavors and textures we love without the ethical baggage?
Absolutely. I mean, imagine a world where you can order a plate of calamari that's ethically sourced, environmentally sustainable, and maybe even healthier than the real thing.
Sign me up. But even if we do reach this culinary utopia, there's still the bigger question of how we coexist with intelligent beings, whether they're swimming in the ocean or running algorithms in a server farm.
That's the core message here, isn't it? The octopus is like a wake-up call, forcing us to re-examine our place in the web of life and to recognize that intelligence comes in many forms.
It's like that saying, if you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, it will live its whole life believing that it is stupid.
Exactly. Octopuses are brilliant in their own way, and they deserve our respect, not just our appetites.
Okay, so big picture time.
Fair.
What do we do with all this newfound knowledge? How do we translate awareness into action?
Well, I think the first step is simply to keep asking questions. Keep learning about these creatures, keep challenging our own assumptions, and keep the conversation going.
Right. Don't just take our word for it. Do your own research, explore the different perspectives, and decide for yourself how you want to interact with this issue.
And remember, change doesn't happen overnight. It starts with small steps, like choosing sustainable seafood supporting organizations that protect marine life, or simply spreading awareness about octopus intelligence.
Exactly. Every little bit helps. And who knows, maybe someday we'll look back on this era of octopus consumption with the same bewilderment we now feel about, say, the use of leeches in medicine.
Remember when people used to eat those intelligent cephalopods? What were they thinking?
Exactly. All right, folks, that about wraps up our deep dive into the fascinating and sometimes disturbing world of octopuses.
We hope you learned something new, had a few laughs, and maybe even felt your perspective shift a little.
And if you're craving more thought-provoking conversations and mind-blowing discoveries, be sure to check out our back catalog of episodes. We've covered everything from the origins of language to the mysteries of dark matter.
There's a deep dive out there for everyone. And if you're enjoying Sip and Talk, be sure to subscribe, rate, and review us on your favorite podcast platform.
It really helps us spread the word and connect with other curious minds.
And be sure to follow us on social media for all the latest updates, behind-the-scenes shenanigans, and maybe even some octopus memes.
Until next time, folks, keep sipping, keep talking, and keep those tentacles, those brains engaged.
Cheers.